Please click the subscribe button and the notification icon. It will help us a lot. Hi, this is Rodrigo from Frame Freak Studio, and this is the Creative Hostler Show. Today, guest, we have Erin Shin. She's an amazing illustrator, visual developer, and she has worked in a development program hosted by Nickelodeon to develop a pitch Bible for a children's show with a team. She's currently attending the Art Center College of Design for their Comes to Design track, and also work with a few freelance jobs, including character artists from GM Animation Studios and a mobile game that is under developing. So, without any further introduction, welcome, Erin.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So, for those who do not know about you, can you tell us a little bit how did you get started? Pretty much, why did you choose art? How did you get to this point?
Well, I always knew that I wanted to get into art ever since middle school, actually. And it kind of all came naturally to me. I started attending art classes. I've gotten to know more, and I finally discovered the entertainment design industry around high school because I attended a high school with Orange County High School of the Arts, and they just opened up a new program, the digital media program, and it was all about animation and game art, and that kind of was the introduction to me to start pursuing art in a more professional sense, like getting a clear idea of what kind of industry I want to delve into. Because before I was just like, oh, so there's artists that can make money off of drawing. That sounds great. But I didn't really know like any specifics onto how to get into that until I went through high school, and then I applied to Art Center, and I'm getting a much more deeper education about entertainment arts here. So that was kind of my delve into being interested in pursuing art professionally. And yeah.
And how was the realization for you? Because I know a couple of friends who are like kind of young, and well, let me tell you something that just happened recently.
Oh,
We were talking, we were posting something in our fan page. I don't remember what exactly, but it was kind of something about motivation and pretty much going on for what you want to do. And there was a girl that posted there like, oh, that she just pretty much wanted to do a lot of uh, pretty much landscapes and things like that, and that she hopes that she can uh, someday pretty much live from that. And I just told her like, hey, like, but actually background designer is like a career. It is
yeah.
not, you can also go into visual development, and there is a lot of people being paid by that. Like even we have paid people to do backgrounds. And she was like completely amazed, like really that exists, like holy shit. And I could see like even though like we were just online, like by reading her words, like a new world just opened. And I posted like a list of careers that exist and how much they get paid and all that, and it was like a whole new world for her. So how was it for you, the realization that you could actually live from making art for entertainment and things like that?
Well, I'm trying to recall when I realized that the concept art world was bigger than I thought it was. Because I always knew that it existed since around like 8th grade, but I was never really confident in it until past my first semester of school, when I started meeting all these art industry professionals and them sharing what you can actually do in the concept art field. I'm trying to recollect. You know, I I realized my strengths were early on, character painting, and I never really had confidence in my design skills until recently. And so I feel like I always knew that concept art was a field I could go into uh since ninth grade, but I guess the more I learned about the industry and the more I realized what I could do, like specifically, like like character design, production, um how environment design, world building, production actually like goes through in the production space in the studios, the more I got to learn about that, the more confident and the more excited I became about concept art in itself, because I didn't really know much. So like slowly learning all these things and becoming more confident in how everything works actually was the thing that made me super like more happy and more like looking forward to the future.
Awesome. And when you see people trying to kind of follow up your uh, the path that you're following up your career, is there, let's say, a common mistake that you see that most people do that they are not aware that they are doing
Common mistake for what?
when they are trying to enter and follow the career that you're working now?
Ah, I guess like the most common thing that I tend to see is that people will try and go into something without much foundational skill. Like someone will be a really excellent painter, but then they say that they want to go into concept work and visual development, but they lack like foundation skills like perspective, um, correct like visual communication, drawing skills, knowing how to render and shape things realistically, and like basic foundation that people don't seem to like touch up on, like anatomy and things. And then they'll tend to use like just one super big strength, like maybe like stylized painting as like a crutch. But yeah, I think building up on foundation is super important if you want to go into like enter the field basically for art, concept art, visual development, and things like that.
Yeah, and something that what kind of amazed me out of you is that uh, you're pretty much you keep studying. You're studying right now, and I see your art, and I know many people, like a lot of people who, if they will have your level already, they will never go back into studying. Obviously not everybody, but I do know a lot of people who have felt, let's say, overconfident in their skill with
Mm.
much less than what I'm seeing in
Yeah,
your art. So,
yeah.
so, so that is something to note that I think that you have the right attitude towards learning and keep pretty much polishing your art and making it better and better and better.
Yeah, yeah. A lot
And
of people have asked me, I kind of feel like this is humble bragging, but I just want to share my experience. But they have told me that I shouldn't be in school, or that I could just start off working from where I am right now. But I feel like my decision to go to school is more of a personal one, because I personally really enjoy seeing myself grow and learning. And I consider that I have improved my drawing and design skills a lot since last year. And since attending art center, a lot of it, I've improved a lot, and I just want to keep going through the improvement. So it's more of a personal choice for me to actually go through with school. And also I've met so many new friends and so many interesting peers and professionals working in the industry. It's just going to school is just a really great opportunity to experience things like that. So that's my reasoning for still going to school. And I've gotten good scholarship and financial aid for it, so why not?
nice. Yeah, definitely. I think, to be honest, I'm kind of, especially now that we have a lot of options, I'm kind of against going to college because
Yeah.
I think it's uh, that they are not adapting that fast
Mhm.
to many things that are happening right now. But that being said, like uh, when I kind of went to college for a couple of years, that's where I met the people that ended up becoming my partners building this business, and pretty much who are now working with me to kind of grow the interviews, creating the summit, and all these kind of things. So if we were to look back, I will, and if you were to tell me that in the future I will be meeting like amazing artists from all over the world, and having my own business registered in the US and all these kind of things, I will have say to you like you're crazy, like you're drunk, but you do not know what is going to happen in the future, and it is also highly possible that the people that you actually meet in college are going to be really important to your career in the future, and they are going to be the sources of you getting projects, jobs, or even building your own business eventually. So there's that.
Yeah, totally. I feel like the people you meet in school is basically what makes up like 50% or more of your experience of actually going to like a professional school for art.
Yeah, definitely. And something that I want to ask you is that whenever you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what do you do to get back to your center and pretty much keep working?
Oh, let's see. Feeling overwhelmed. I feel like the last time that I felt truly overwhelmed with my work was when I was actually building my portfolio and actually applying my design senses to make an actual cohesive portfolio to apply to school and jobs with. And because it was my first time doing so, I was incredibly lost. Like looking back into it, like I know a lot more now, so it wouldn't be as daunting. But I feel like at moments when you're feeling unsure, you don't know where to go, I think the best thing that I did was I reached out to people. Like first of all, I took a break and I had time to calm down so I wasn't like rushed in thought. But once like I had like nice food, I watched a movie or something, took a break for myself, I would go and contact people cuz I feel like your friends and people you already know are like one of the most accessible and comforting sources you can go to when you need help. So I contacted friends who were already in art center. I contacted my teachers. I talked to them about directions to go to with my art. And you never know how what kind of information you can get out of people and how willing they are to help out with the struggles you're going through. So I managed to get a lot of like direction and comfort out of being able to speak with others and even just reaching out to people online of work you admire or if you know that they've gone through similar experiences as you. It's always good to reach out.
That is true. Like this podcast for me was kind of a thing that I never expected to have, and pretty much it came from the uh, we kind of went crazy with a project that was very big, and we said yes to it without knowing how to do it. and and the thing is that was that like, okay, we said yes, we got the project, and he was like, okay, how the hell do we do this thing? Because we have no experience whatsoever doing it. So the first thing that I thought, like, oh well, ask the internet, right? And went to Kickstarter and found a project very similar to ours, and that almost made $1 million.
Oh.
So I contacted the creator of the Kickstarter and told him if we could interview him, like using Google Hangouts, to ask him a couple of things, and he said yes. And once he said yes, I started looking out who he was because I was so crazy. I was so crazy busy at the moment with the fire that we have accepted. So uh, until he said yes, I look it up and found out that it was Fred Seibert, like the found the founder of Frederator, and he had created all these cartoons. Yeah, so once I saw who he was, like first of all, like I got really nervous, went crazy, and but the thing was that uh, I realized that I really had the skills to like contact big people back then, but but I didn't realize how potent it was, because if I had knew who he was in the beginning, I wouldn't have sent the email. So that was something that stuck in my head, and then I started like trying to keep
Oh,
pushing with other people and other people like Tom Moore and Stephen Silver and Robert Kondo and all these amazing artists, and they were all saying like yes, 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 and I got all these interviews, and pretty much every time I have any doubt or about something, I can just reach to them and they help, and as you say, like it is really amazing how in this community, like people are open to help, people are open to give their advice, to sit next to you and pretty much help you out build something, and that was something that I really didn't expect at the level uh, of that people will go to try to help others.
yeah, it's a super amazing thing. Like the art community is so much warmer than you can think it is. And all the interviews that you've held, I was actually listening to a couple last night, and it's crazy how many people you can meet and how many people are willing to speak with you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely, and the thing is that I try to put this message always every time that I can, because on the other hand, I know many people, especially from my country, who kind of see the news, and the news, because they are kind of dying, nobody's putting attention to them. They are trying to push out all this negative news to try to get some attention and some ratings. So all these people, they are so afraid to reach out, because they think, oh, the racism and all these kind of things. Like no, no, no. Like the art community is like the most amazing thing you ever that is in existence. Like, and it's probably the least racist of all in the world. Like,
Yeah.
I have never had a problem in here. But yeah, I again, like I just try to put out this point to for anybody listening, like to understand, like, hey, this community is really good. If you need help, you just have to reach out, and most people here are going to be more than happy to lend you a hand.
Oh yeah, it's always the big step is just making the first move.
Definitely. And on this topic of pretty much finding out the things that we didn't expect, uh, what was something that you didn't expect at all when you enter art that became real and is really important?
Hmm. I think one thing that I didn't really expect when I entered the field was how lucrative art could be. Because how I started off, like dipping my toes into doing art for money, was just opening up commissions on DeviantArt or Tumblr or little social media platforms like that, and selling like full-blown paintings for like $50. But as I started learning more about the industry, I didn't know how much money you could make off of it. I was always ready to like do like put in all my work for like a meager amount of money just to get some experience. But like hearing how artists have made their money and how much, like how you can get up to like 30,000 a month off of work, and it's crazy just hearing things like that.
Pretty much something that I have to admit when it comes to this topic is that there is kind of a little demon inside of me laughing by myself every time that we go into this, because I grew up in a school where I had a lot of teachers who were like, "Oh, you're never going to make money out of art." Like you, because I was the kind of kid who was always drawing even in the class,
Yeah.
so I got scolded a lot by people telling me that I was never going to make it into art. And again, like my country is not the best place to do so. So they
Mm.
were all telling me that, and now to think that I make that probably the most money I have ever made was by opening an animation studio, and looking back and thinking all the people that told me that I wasn't going to make money out of it, it's like in your face.
That's always such a good feeling.
Oh yes, it is. But yeah, I think this is something that especially if people are coming outside the U.S., they do not realize that even what is considered something low budget in the U.S. is like a 3 month salary outside the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy how much internet can do for you. How much Ooh.
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh, I thought my microphone mute for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, internet's crazy.
Yeah, especially if you get prey from California. Like California is insanely expensive, like
Oh yeah.
unnecessarily expensive, and pretty much uh, if you can get a project from there and you are outside of California, like you hit the jackpot.
Yeah, it's the jackpot, definitely.
And have you ever had like a failure or an apparent failure that has set you up for success later in the future?
Huh. I guess like one thing that I went through was uh I my first freelance job. When I took my first freelance job, it was super exciting. I was like, "Oh, I'm finally putting in work to studios. I can finally call this professional experience." But the thing is, for the amount of work I did, I was paid I was paid very little. Like I was working like 2 to 3 months like end to end on this project, but the amount of pay I received for it, it made it basically not really worth it. I remember like, oh, I have to finish this because I signed the contract. It's just something I have to do. But after it really taught me a better sense of how to start pricing my work if I want to start working again in the future, and just how to basically treat myself as an artist who's basically worth being paid a lot more than I was at that time. And also the people I worked with, I still keep in contact with. So I think it was a good experience other than the pay. Yeah.
I had a similar experience uh, like that in the past, and it was with Citibank. And
Oh.
well, something that happens in business and that is good is that you can put the logos of the clients that you have worked with. And well, we got this project from Citibank, but it was Citibank from my country, not the US.
Mhm.
So they were kind of aware that they could pay like crap, and that there will be always somebody out there willing to do the work, right? So
Mhm.
uh, pretty much they we were going to do like a, a mobile application when it was all the rage doing mobile application for absolutely everything,
Mhm.
and we started like we accepted this project, and pretty much I got $0 out of it. Like I
Oh.
they pay so low that the money went away just in the production. However, I was even happy uh, that at least it covered the production cost, because there was a moment where I thought that I was going to have to put money uh, from my own to pretty much end the project. But luckily, we were able to just pull it through. And the thing is that these clients weren't so arrogant, and the people managing the project were so arrogant, saying like, "Oh yeah, but you get to put our logo and say that you work with us with other clients." Now they were thinking about it locally, right? Like from my country.
Yeah.
And I thought like, oh well, like I have a business that is targeting outside clients, so yeah, this logo is going to be able to get me m- uh, to get clients more confidence in my business. And we were starting back then, so we didn't have like a lot of logos from big companies. So that was my first big time company logo, and I put it there. And thanks to having pretty much the weight of being able to say that, oh yeah, we work with Citibank. Like if you deal with clients in in the US, they will immediately tell, oh, Citibank, the US, right? So They are trust. It's like yeah, and
Yeah.
so that ended up on the long run leading to a lot of more projects and working with a lot of better, bigger companies. But in the time, it sucked.
Yeah, I'm glad you got something out of it though. It's like companies are so devious. I've heard so many stories recently of companies like hiring interns or entry level job positions, but they pay so badly. But since they're such big companies, like the people who are being hired are just prompted to say yes just because it adds to their job experience. So if a company can get away with paying such a little amounts, like it's so common, they will, and people will say yes because they are big name companies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now that we are working in the summit and the interviews doing there, we're uh, focusing a lot on the professional side. We have heard a lot of horror histories from there, and,
Yeah.
and and for example, one of the things that in the interview with Christoph Patcher, he told us like, uh, beware all the artists who kind of are still in the clouds and thinking in the fantasy side of, oh, I'm going to live from my passion and I'm going to be
Yeah.
working doing art, because these big companies in animation will come to you with this pitch of, hey, welcome to the family, you're part of the family, like you're living the dream, and they go with that pitch because they know there are these artists who want to believe it. But then you get like a professional assigned to you to evaluate your productivity, how much work are you doing, the quality of your work. It's like, oh yeah, in a family they don't put you someone like that, right? And then once the project ends or whatever happens, like they just fire you, and and then there is no family, there is just business, right?
That's just business.
Exactly, and they told me, well, they have told me cases of people who were pretty much devastated by this, and pretty much never went into art again because of it.
Yeah, I feel like if you are to enter the concept art, the entertainment industry, you need to be super well versed in business. That's something that's been like reiterated to me constantly, time and time again, that like they don't really teach you or like focus much on business while you're in school in like a lot of art programs. I feel like art center also included until graduation time. But yeah, I feel like you need to know business and business politics. That's like one necessary thing you need to know if you're going to go into art. It's just not all about drawing good things and adding to a big project with artistic skill alone.
Definitely. And how was it in your case, like pretty much learning about this business side of things and putting it in balance with the art part?
Luckily, during my time in school, I had a lot of teachers who agreed that business should be an integral part of your education as you're learning, not just around the end of your like school years or whatever. So a lot of people taught me good things about how to treat yourself professionally, like always negotiate when you're getting a job, to know exactly what you're signing up for, and every all the important things before you get yourself into a mess later on. So could you remind me the your question again?
Uh, Pretty much, how did you integrate this business side and put it into balance with the art side?
Yes. So everything I've learned from my teachers, like I've recently just sat in on a lecture of like industry professionals on how to negotiate and how to make sure that you're not being cheated, and that it's okay to treat your clients with a much business-like manner and not to think that you owe them anything just because they're giving you this chance to work for them. So I'm definitely keeping those things in mind, and right now I'm talking to a few people about like opportunities of freelancing during the summer after my semester is over. So all this like business talk and tips about negotiation, has been helpful for things like that.
Yeah, and something that I recommend most, especially people who are going into freelance, is go to YouTube and look for a video that is called "Fuck You, Pay Me."
Nice.
And there is pretty much a speech from a guy who, if I remember correctly, is a lawyer, and he goes there through many situations of how clients will try to pretty much scam you or treat you bad, and how you can do things in a way where you can put them in a tough spot so they will have to pay you. So it is it is about 1 hour the video, but it is really educational.
All right, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, and also for advice for everybody, look for, like, I think it is important for artists, and this is hard because artists tend to have this mind of kind of be free and and just flow and
Yeah.
pretty much just focus on the art part. But I think you should that all artists, especially if they are really serious about being a professional, should dedicate at least some time every month to grab business books and read about them, or watch videos about it, but dedicate some time uh, to read them. And someone that I will highly always recommend. Well, there are a couple of people. One of them is Chase Jarvis. He's a photographer, but he does a lot of podcasts and a lot of interviews and videos that are very focused on pretty much the entrepreneurship part of art.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Taste the what?
Uh, the, the that Chase Jarvis focuses a lot of the entrepreneurship part
Ah,
of art. So that is one that I recommend. Another one is called Ramit Sethi. This guy focuses a lot of very financial strategies, but he's very practical, and his advice is like advice that pretty much everybody can take and act upon. And he teaches you a lot of how to negotiate, how to go into interviews for work, and pretty much nail those interviews. A lot of tricks that are very useful. So I truly recommend those two.
awesome. His name was Ramis what?
Ramit Sethi,
Ramit?
and the other one is Chase Jarvis.
Got it, got it. Interesting.
So, and let's say you meet a smart, driven artist, very young, who is about to enter the real world and try to make a name of himself. What advice will you give that person, and what advice should they ignore?
Should they ignore? Huh? Hmm.
Yes.
So, a young artist that's just going into the industry,
Yeah,
I
pretty
would
much.
say don't undervalue yourself. If you're going to charge for your work, shoot a ridiculous number. And if they refuse, then there's always time to negotiate and talk about it. So I know a problem that I had was I would undercharge myself so much because I thought that I'll give them a number that I think was high, but it's not actually that high. And they'll say yes right away. So, like, the best thing to do is say something crazy. And, like, the best thing that could happen is that they'll say yes and they'll pay you for that amount. And otherwise, you can just try and negotiate for something lower that you'd also be okay with. And also, treat yourself with high regard, treat yourself professionally. Don't apologize for like mistakes that you think that you made in your art. And always like value yourself, because if you don't treat yourself well, then the clients won't either. I think a lot of like your reputation and your presence in the art world has to do with how you view yourself as well. So just treat yourself well. Take care of yourself. Don't overwork. Just treat yourself with the highest regard is my advice.
That is an excellent tip that you just gave there. Like, whenever you give a price and the client says yes right away, you could have charged a lot more,
Yeah.
way more. So, uh, let's see. in these last years, like internet has evolved a lot, and pretty much there is a lot of resources that we can take advantage of. Uh, what are resources for learning or finding work or anything like that that you can recommend that you think they are not that famous?
I realized that a lot of like learning resources have like skyrocketed nowadays. There's so many like artists in the industry who are looking to make like extra pocket cash off of just teaching online and providing their resources on either Patreon, Gumroad, or like online schooling websites. So there's so many resources you can look into. Like if you know a big name, chances are that they they might have resources online. It doesn't even have to be courses. Maybe it's like speed paints or whatever. And also YouTube has become a really nice platform for art education as well. I recently came across this channel, Marco Bucci. He does a lot of really great and concise tutorials, or not tutorials, like lessons on like building up art foundation and how to approach value, color, shading, uh, image and value grouping and all that. That's also a really great resource that I've watched through. Like the amount of educational stuff you can get for free is crazy. Like there's so much on YouTube, and if you're willing to pay some more, then like Schoolism or CG Masters Academy or um lesson packs on Gumroad are also available for you. I just think you just have to do some searching to see which ones you're interested in, read like reviews or testimonials from people who have taken those courses. I think yeah, it's pretty accessible to find good education online.
Yeah, definitely. Like even entrepreneurs, like I like to follow a couple of them, but there is it is crazy to think that there are a couple of even billionaires in YouTube pretty much giving their knowledge away, and it's like
Yeah.
it's an amazing resource that we didn't have uh, long ago, because even though when we had YouTube years ago, uh, this idea of being a YouTuber and pretty much giving all your knowledge away wasn't something that was that famous, let's say.
Yeah. And also, like podcasts like these are also great things to listen to. There's podcasts on YouTube, there's podcasts here, Fame Freak Studio. It's all free resources for artists that they shouldn't like take for granted, I feel.
Definitely. And on that topic, like something that I always recommend is that do like if you really, really, really want to learn, like do a podcast and start
Oh,
reaching people out, and then you can have their pretty much a system where you can ask anything you want, but you also have to look for good questions as well, because it's kind of uh, uh, there is this saying that like there is no dumb question. Well, if you have an hour to ask any question that you want to somebody who pretty much has done what you want to do, and you go to ask like a basic question like what are your three favorite books, like you could have googled that.
yeah. Yeah, totally. I feel like you've done so much work. It's super admirable.
Yeah, but on that end, like something that I want to say as well, like I found out recently that this is a statistic that most people start a podcast and they pretty much stop after 4 episodes, like 96% of them. So that was kind of I was kind of a little bit in shock, because I thought like people would put more uh, a little bit more effort. But then I found out that the reason why that happens is that they complicate these things a lot, and they want to edit it and for the podcast to pretty much sound really amazing with the intros and to cut all the bad parts and pretty much just making it sweet. And they went go for hours trying to edit this audio to make it sound
Yeah.
better. It's like, yeah, like if I went like that about this podcast, I would have to stop as well. So make it simple. Like think this is something a lesson that I give as well. Like if something is hard enough already, don't make it harder than it should be.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make you a really hard question here.
Okay.
So let's say you wake up tomorrow in a different dimension, and you have all your tools to make art, your house, you have your knowledge, your skills, your experience, but nobody knows about you, and you have $500 in your pocket. What do you do to get back to this point, professionally speaking, as soon as possible?
Oh, I would hop straight back into social media. I feel like that's the start of how I grew as an artist mainly. I would find this new dimensions main social media platform for artists, maybe like an alternate Instagram, alternate Twitter, and start posting there and trying to build a following and learning more about how um, the industry and community works here, and just doing a lot of like self-proclaimed research on trying to jump back into where I am now if I were to wake up in this whole new other dimension.
Nice. Yeah, this is something that really stresses people off from time to time.
Yeah.
uh, Something that I forgot to ask you, that this question came into my head and then kind of was lost in thought. But in your case, when you get like let's say a project that you don't feel quite right about it for a client
What
like
that I
that,
don't feel right about?
when somebody looks for you for a project that and you don't quite feel right about it, or the
Uh,
client,
yeah.
uh, how do you go about saying no to that project? And also, how do you identify that this project is not right for you?
I think to identify if a project isn't right for me, I would try my best to dig into what exactly they want me to do, like what kind of work they're looking for, and not only that, but how I will be compensated for it, and how much time and energy they're expecting for me like in exchange for how much I would be getting paid. And if a price is too low, or if the the kind of content they want from me doesn't match up, like I don't think I have much trouble saying no, as long as I haven't signed anything, or I haven't like promised them anything. Like during all my like email exchanges, or when I'm talking to them, I never like outright say, "Oh, I definitely will do this." Like I never make statements like that. I try and ask questions, and through that I seem interested in like what they're talking about, or what kind of project they want to invite me into. Like just staying interested does a lot, and it doesn't put you in the position where you are promising them that you will work for them eventually, even if you haven't signed them anything. And if I do go along to say no, then I say it in the most polite way I can. It's never usually like a personal reasons, like I hate this studio. I hate this person asking me. It's just, oh, I'm sorry. I have too much work, or I won't be available this time, but maybe you can contact me another time, or you can contact me when I'm available. It's never like a outright like, no, I don't want to do this, because I think that leaves like a bad taste in people's mouths.
Awesome. And something that I want to ask you is that in the last years, have you acquired any kind of new mindset, habit, or behavior that has improved on your life, professionally speaking?
Professionally speaking, I've got like being in school and creating projects, I've gotten a lot more comfortable presenting my work and being able to talk about it in ways that will keep people interested. Because the problem I had was I was pretty self-conscious, so I wouldn't take my work and projects with as much respect as I should have gave them. And so I would talk about them kind of uninterested, thinking that people wouldn't be interested. But like learning how to present your work and carry yourself, I feel is a super important thing for artists to learn. Like it shouldn't be looked past on, I feel. So I feel like I improved a lot in presentation skill, and how to talk with people and introduce your concepts and your achievements with enthusiasm, so they can be enthusiastic about it too.
That is a really good one. Like being able to well, in entrepreneurship we call this a pitch, but being able
Yeah,
to yeah, present that your project, your ideas, your work in a way that also excites other, like that is a really amazing skill to acquire.
definitely.
And well, you just mentioned that you were kind of self-conscious of your work and all that, and well, I'm seeing your illustrations right now. They are amazing. So it kind of reminds me of this scenario where I see a lot of, and I have a lot of artists, and I have a lot of friends as well who are really really amazing, but they think they suck pretty much. They think they suck, their work sucks and all that. It's like, uh, what is your advice to these people who are good enough, like or really really good, but they
Mhm.
do not have the confidence in their own work?
I feel like the best thing you can do for yourself, even if you think your work sucks, is to just like be excited about it. Just fake it, I guess. Be excited about your work, like present it with the utmost care and respect you would give to someone else's project, because I feel like no one is going to be excited about your work. No one's going to take you seriously if you don't like take it seriously and be excited about your own work as well. Because one thing that I hate seeing is people posting their art or talking about their art and saying, "Oh, like the perspective sucks, the idea sucks, but here it is anyway." Because it kind of puts people in an uncomfortable situation. Like, um, I like if I don't disagree with you, I seem like a jerk. But I don't want to be the one like saying, "Oh no, your work looks great. Don't worry about it." I don't want to be the person doing that. I feel like yeah, half of whether people will be interested in your work is how you present yourself. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to present yourself well. Treat yourself like you would an artist you would admire.
Awesome, really powerful advice there. And is there any last advice that you would like to give that we haven't talked into this interview yet?
Hmm. I would say other than art, make sure you take care of yourself well. Make time to hang out with your friends or enjoy yourself, because burning yourself out is such a bad thing to go through, especially when you're delving into like rigorous things like school, freelance work, in-house work, any one of that. Don't underestimate the value of like friendship. That sounds so cheesy to say, but like the people around you will give you so much energy, so much more inspiration for your art, because that's one thing I struggled with. I would isolate myself a lot and I would find myself really unmotivated and basically depressed. But like I eventually like found time to hang out with people. I met so many new friends and they've all been super great to me, and that's one thing that I do not regret from attending school or going into art center. Like it's the people you meet and like the bonds you create and like the struggles you go through together that makes life worth living, I feel.
Definitely, that is really good advice. I think I really pretty much kind of understand you because I have done that in the past as well a lot.
I feel like we
And
all have.
yeah, and well, I think in my case was a little bit extreme because again, like we didn't have. I come from this poor country, El Salvador, and there is not much out of there's not much options when it comes to paths that actually can make you feel alive. Like there is only dead end jobs, and so people kind of give up really easy here.
Yeah.
But it was hard for me in the beginning to find kind of my group of friends and people who understand the things that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, we got the internet, and and uh, that made things way easier to
Bless
kind of
you.
find. Yeah, and there is a crazy story that I found out that especially if the people listening right now they are kind of in a spot where they think they are too weird and that they are not going to be able to find their group of friends and things like that.
Uh-huh.
And I saw this history that apparently in Craigslist there was this guy who has this fetish to pretty much bump goats, and he posted,
What?
yeah,
Bump goat?
yeah, like I don't want to use other word other than that,
Oh,
but you get the idea.
I get you.
Yeah, you get the idea. And he posted this ad to kind of find people who were interested into that activity, let's call it that way.
Uh-huh.
And he pretty much found a lot of guys who were into that, and they pretty much had a meeting and ended up in a new story with the guy. Apparently, one of the goats got angry and hit him and pretty much killed him.
Oh my
But just to just think that if those guys were able to find each other, like you can definitely
Yeah,
find.
I feel
Uh,
like anything is possible. Like I definitely understand that loneliness is something it's a really hard feeling to struggle through because when you're at that point you feel like you'll be alone for a long time and then everything is hopeless. But I feel like paying attention, like if good things happen to you, like keeping an open mind and paying attention to like the opportunities that come by will help a lot. And you never know when your life might turn a leaf and if you'll meet new people, how long they'll actually stay in your life. Because a lot of the friends I have now, I actually met online or I met in like some temporary programs and they've actually become one of the closest people I have. So just being open to like talking to people, being open to like meeting new people, trying new things, I feel like will be a very important thing for coming out of like ruts of not being able to find new friends or feeling lonely and all that.
Definitely, and I even got a couple of friends who are even more introverted than I am, and, and who just hold on to that excuse like that people tire them, that they are introverted. It's like no, you. And I told them like you haven't met the right people, like because even as an introverted, when you are with a really special group of people, they energize you.
Oh yeah,
Not drain you.
definitely.
Yeah, they do not drain you. They fill you with energy. You go to see them and you get out of that meeting feeling much better.
Yeah, I used to think that I was super introverted like around high school when I didn't have much friends. Like, oh, I'm just this kind of person. I get more energy when I'm by myself. But as I met new people, I realized I'm actually super extroverted. I find myself wanting to hang out with people all the time and to just work with them and just be around them constantly. And so it's just like the matter of finding the right people, as cheesy as that might sound.
Yeah, and the thing is that once you found like even if it is a very small group of people who are like into the same frequency as you or the same tune as you, like something wake up in your head and suddenly you can recognize very fast other people who are like you.
Yes, totally.
That is also something weird that happens to me. But so uh, focus on finding up, even if it is a small group of friends, a very small group of friends, but if that is the right one for you. And from there, pretty much, if you do not leave them, like things will get better as time passes.
Definitely. And you grow more as a person that way too, like going through these hardships and finding what works for you.
Definitely. Well, Erin, if people want to find you online, where will be the best place to do so?
So I have Twitter, Instagram, and ArtStation. Those are my main platforms. And for Instagram, it is Enshi Art, ENSHIART, Enshi Art. And for Twitter, it is also Enshi Art, I believe. Yes. And for ArtStation, it is artstation.com/Erin-Shin.
Awesome. Well, I want to give you thanks for giving us your time and being here, giving us your advice and experience. It has been truly an amazing experience, Erin.
Oh, same to you. Thanks so much for inviting me to the show. It was really fun talking to you.
Awesome. I'm glad that you like it. So this has been the last episode of the Creative Research Show. If you like it, please share it with your friends. Also, click the like button below. And until next time.
Yeah, thanks so much.